Hey everyone, this is Josh, and I'm going to walk you through briefly how to read your home inspection report. When you get your report and you pull it up, you're going to see this right here. This is the cover page. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. On the cover sheet, you're going to find information about the home, including a front view photo of the house itself and some basic information, the name of your home inspector and license number, who this is prepared for. So Joni Home Buyer, that would be you, the date of inspection, along with the address and some general information, including the size of the home, age of the home, and the weather on the date of inspection. Proceeding from there, we come to the report introduction, and it's a lot of words, but it's just our way of telling you what to expect with the report. I do encourage people to read through the entire thing, read through it along with your realtor. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to follow up with me after the fact, and I'll answer any questions that you have, walk you through any need for clarity that might still be there once you've read the report. But this is just kind of a general overview of what the home inspection is and is not. For instance, it's not a code inspection. The general home inspection is a safety and structural inspection. There are very few homes that are on the market which are going to meet every single code requirement, um, unless it's been built just in the past few years. So code is not what we're looking for when we inspect a home. We're looking primarily for any outstanding or potential safety hazards, any significant or serious structural hazards that might cause a problem now in the future. And then beyond that, just really a whole lot of cosmetic and non-cosmetic defects that the state of Ohio says, hey, if you see these things, then you have to let your client know. And of course, the recommendations we make in the inspection are general. It's a recommendation for repair, recommendation that you monitor a situation for any further developments, any recommendations that we make. It is assumed that we're recommending you use a licensed contractor, someone who is qualified to do the work. Of course, it's entirely up to you. You may want to do it yourself. You may have someone you trust, and that's your call. But for our purposes, we recommend that you use fully licensed and qualified contractors for any work that you do. Also understand that inspections don't pass or fail. This is a question we often get. People not quite understanding the process of the third-party inspection. What you do with the information provided to you through the inspection process is entirely up to you. Now, there may be issues that arise in the process that another party to the real estate transaction may take issue with and may make a requirement that it need to be addressed before you move forward, such as, for instance, your lender or insurer on your homeowner's insurance. If they get wind of certain issues that may pose potential safety or fire hazards, they may want to have those things addressed before you can move forward with the closing on the home. Or for instance, if you're getting a certain type of loan, like a VA loan, for instance, or an FHA loan, lenders with those loans often have stricter requirements than conventional loan um, originators. So depending on how much information you share with those third parties and what they care about, they might step in and say, hey, based on the findings of the home inspection report, we need to have this and this taken care of before we can move forward. Otherwise, it's entirely up to you and or your agent, your partner, your kids, whoever's involved with you in the decision-making process. And to keep that power in your hands, I always encourage my customers to share only what information that you want to share with third parties involved in the process. And I'll even go so far sometimes as to say, share as little as you can. Don't offer any information that it is not requested of you. Because chances are when you do that, you're taking the decision-making power out of your own hands and putting it into the hands of someone else. Now, again, a lender, an insurance agent may request certain information from the report, and you may share that with them. And there may be a conversation about requirements that they have in moving forward. But generally speaking, this report and all the information contained in it belongs to you. It's a third-party service. I have no stake in the transaction one way or another. I have no financial interest in it. So I'm providing you with an unbiased third-party assessment of the condition of the home on the day of inspection to give you all the information that you need to make the best decision you can in your own family's interest based on your values and what's important to you. Okay, so an inspection doesn't pass or fail. It's entirely up to what's important to you, what the specific findings are, and what you want to do with that information. Okay, so that's some of the information that you see here. Also included some little tips on how to read your report. That there will be photos, maybe sometimes videos included as well. Your best viewing option is to open this in Adobe Reader. But as you can see right here on the screen, I've got it open in my browser, and that's how most people are going to read it. I utilize certain of these icons throughout the report just to give you kind of a quick and easy reference to what's being said about a certain component of the home. And those start with a green check mark, which is A-OK. Everything's acceptable and good to go. Repair or replace, that means that there's something about the item in question that should be addressed, whether that's by yourself, by a qualified specialist, but there's some needed for repair. Safety issues, those can range from very relatively small or benign things that you may or may not care about whatsoever to something more urgent and perhaps dangerous to yourself or for another property owner. And that will be explained in the comments as well. And the annotations made on the report, but the red flag is a safety issue of any kind. Monitor, again, that's an item that you just might want to keep an eye on it for one reason or another. And then not accessible. This may be due to crawl space under a home that I couldn't get to, or that was filled with water and there were electrical wires laying on the ground running through the wire. So it was not safe condition. And I wasn't able to get all the way through the crawl space of the home to access and see all that could be seen otherwise. So this is to let you know that there was some type of accessibility issue. And then there's a glossary in the back of the report. If you see any terms that are highlighted in yellow, you can hover your mouse over top of it and it will take you to the glossary definition of those things. And then one more before we dive into the report, just a statement of general limitations. Again, letting you know what the home inspection does and does not cover. Limitations apply across the board. For instance, I'm only on site usually for about 2 hours on a single day. So there's only so much that can be uncovered or confirmed in a 2-hour visit to a home. So just letting you know that all the findings you report are based on observable conditions, accessible conditions on the day of inspection, and some definition there of what exactly a defect means. And if you want to read the standards of practice that I follow, those created by the International Association, INTRNACHI, then you can click this link and find those. I often get questions also in follow-up to the home inspection about where's a contractor that I can get a hold of to take care of this issue for me. So I provide a brief list for my customers that's included in every report, just as a starting point. I have not worked with all of these contractors personally. Some of them I have, and I've been pleased and satisfied with their work. Others have come to me through various references, whether past customers of mine or real estate agents that I know and work with and trust that have given positive references. This is not a blanket endorsement of the quality of services that all of these individuals might offer. It's just a short list in each of these categories to provide you a starting point in your own search for a contractor should the need arise. And of course, you see all the different specialties listed here. Then you come to the table of contents where you can quickly jump to any one section of the report. And then what follows is the report summary. Now, the summary is a listing of what I, in my professional opinion, consider to be the main items of concern. So if it was me moving into this house and these were the things that were uncovered in the inspection, these are the things that I would feel to be of most urgent importance to me, that I would either want to find out more information about them, get some more information from the seller, from the listing agent, whoever is available to provide that information. I might want to have repaired or replaced or addressed prior to closing, further evaluated by a qualified specialist, whatever it might be. These are the items that I deem to be the most important, and then I want to highlight for you up front for kind of quick and easy reference. It's not an exhaustive list of all of the items in the report. And so I encourage you to read through the entire thing along with your realtor or anybody else who's assisting you in the process. but the main stuff, in my opinion, will be here for quick and easy reference. So we see an example here I've got in our sample report from the basement or crawl space section, floor joists, evidence of termite activity was found. You can see some of the comments there. This would be an example of something that I would consider to be a main item if it is uncovered during an inspection that you're going to want to know about and possibly do something about. Now, I also offer wood-destroying insect reports in addition to the general home inspection report that I encourage my clients to get unless you know that the home that you're looking to purchase has recently been treated or inspected and that there are no known issues in the house. Then you might feel safe to pass on the WDI inspection. But in most cases, it's safe to go ahead and get that as well, in addition to the general home inspection. Of all the ancillary services that exist in addition to the general, this is the one that I get the most requests for, and it's why I took the time to get the licensing to provide that to my customers. So the home inspection, the WDI is a separate report straight from the state of Ohio. They've got their own approved form that must be completed in all WDI inspections as it relates to a real estate transaction. So that's separate from and in addition to the general report. So after the summary, we come to the inspection details, such as what type of home are we dealing with here? What direction is the house facing? And this is important because this will be referenced throughout the report. So the photo that you see on the main cover of the front of the home right there, the direction will be listed here, what direction that the front of the home is facing. So in this case, it's facing approximately north. So you know that the front of the house is facing north. So when you see references throughout the report of an item that may be located on the west wall in the living room, you kind of can orient yourself to know in what direction that is based on the general direction of the home itself. Occupancy on the day of inspection. In this case, the home was occupied and fully furnished. And what that means is that there may have been additional limitations in addition to the general limitations highlighted in the front of the report. So if there was a lot of furniture, if there were a lot of stored items and furnishings that were in the way of walls and floor surfaces and receptacles and various things of that nature, that might have blocked my access to those things. So there may have been uncovered defects that were not accessible due to those, due to the occupancy of the home. Utilities, were they all turned on? If not, why not? What limitations does that create to the inspection? And then who is in attendance? So in this case, as I encourage most of my buyers, most of my clients who are buyers to attend the inspection if they can. Most folks like to show up toward the end so we can do a walkthrough together of the property and answer any questions that you have. But that attendance will be described here. And then we get into the main sections of the report. And I've highlighted just a few examples from each section to give you an idea of how you can read the rest of your report. This is not everything that's in a typical general home inspection report, but there's a few items from each section just to give you an idea of what to expect. Each section, starting with the grounds, will start off with some general information about what is included within this section. And then there will be subheadings, such as site grading here, with general observations listed. You see the icon here. This is the repair or replace icon. And we see that in this case, it's in reference to negative soil grade that was found around the home in various locations. Now, you might find throughout the report that there's these diagrams included just to give you a kind of a visual idea of what I'm describing here in the report. In this case, the recommendations for improving soil grade. So the visual element really makes more clarity what's being described here for most folks. And in some places, you'll find a hyperlink. So you can click this link to go to the blog on my website and read more if you're interested about soil grade and its potential impact on a home. So everything we do here is about educating you as the customer. We're not trying to overload the report with information that you may or may not care about. So we include links like these for more information on certain items if you're interested in educating yourself further. So following the ground section is a section on the general exterior elements of the home itself. All right, and here's just an example of an item that may need you to just monitor it. You know, there's nothing necessarily today that needs addressed. The exterior caulking in this case was mostly all intact. but caulking will deteriorate over time due to sunlight exposure, exposure to the elements, etc. So it's recommended you just keep an eye on things and recaulk around doors, windows, utility penetrations as needed. So that's an example of an item where you just might be recommended to monitor it. Then we come to the roof. You'll see some general description here of all of the elements that's included in the roof inspection. And just to give you an example here, we have our gutters. So we see that we have 3-inch aluminum gutters on this home. And there was an issue that needs addressed here, which is a very common issue. And that's that many of the downspouts were missing adequate extensions. Not everybody pays attention to this, but it can have serious consequences on a home over time, especially the foundation and or crawl space basement, the below grade areas of the home. So a little illustration here just showing what can happen if there's not an adequate extension to the downspout and how water can pool there and collect against the foundation and cause issues. All right, then we'll come to our attic. And just to give you an example here, you're going to see elements throughout the report that show you where certain access points are located within the home, such as where is the attic access panel? If there is one, there's not always. The panel location in this case is in the hallway closet. And here we have a picture pointing to it, pointing it out, just in case that helps you better identify which hallway closet and what exactly the panel even looks like, because some people might not be really aware of that. And then just some general observations about the accessibility within the attic itself. Just because there's an access panel doesn't mean there's going to be full access to the attic. So you need to understand what that means if it has any impact on the report. In this case, partial flooring was installed in the attic, but certain areas at the north end of the house were inaccessible due to an absence of flooring and low head space. So the inspection was limited to what was visible from the accessible areas. And we see our little icon here showing that there's an accessibility issue related to this item. If there's a garage on the property, whether attached or detached, that section will then follow. We have an example here of an item that is in need of repair and is also a potential safety hazard. And this is a very common one that turns up in most homes. The absence of GFCI receptacles in certain areas of the house, including a garage where moisture levels are just generally higher than they are in other areas of the home. This is considered a safety issue because a GFCI is a newer innovation that provides an added layer of protection for circuits within a home. The absence of GFCI does not mean that necessarily your family is in danger or something horrible is going to happen. So this is an example of one of those safety issues that you may or may not necessarily care about it, but it is a potential safety issue. So I highlight it, and so I recommend that you replace, in this case, installing GFCI receptacles in the garage. Then we move to our interior areas of the home, and this section covers everything that's not related to the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the laundry. So everything else, hallways, foyers, living rooms, family rooms, sunrooms, etc., will all be covered within the interior areas section of the home. And I have just another example here of a general limitation related to, for instance, a fireplace. So if there's a fireplace located in the home, I'll do a very basic general inspection that will be included along with in the report here. But I let people know, especially if you're planning to use a fireplace or chimney for any type of wood burning exhaust, you should have that checked out by a specialist. I am not a specialist in this case. And in most cases, I am not. I am a general home inspector. So even though there was nothing wrong with the fireplace in the accessible visible components that I take a look at, if you're planning to use it for these other purposes, you should have a certified chimney sweep come in and do a full evaluation and potentially cleaning of the flue, for instance. So you'll see comments like that throughout the report saying, hey, take this for what it's worth. Items that require a specialist further evaluation or repair, you should find that person and have them do the work. Then we come to our bedrooms. Any of the sleeping areas of the home, typically, sometimes you'll find a home that people will use a bedroom, a room for that may not, appear to be a bedroom. I qualify this as any room that's designated for sleeping and has a closet attached to it. So just an example here of an item that's all good to go. The ceiling fans were in working condition with no apparent defects. Then we have our bathrooms. And you'll see an example here of information included in the report on how to locate certain rooms within the home. This would be the same with other rooms such as the bedrooms, but I just give you an example here. So this home theoretically had 2 bathrooms. The bathroom number 1 is located on the 2nd floor, and bathroom number 2 located on the 1st floor. Then we'll have our kitchen area, kitchen or kitchens. And you have an example here. Most appliances are generally outside the scope. Testing them is outside the scope, I should say, of a general home inspection. Some inspectors do. Sometimes I do, based upon availability and accessibility. But you'll find a listing here of what appliances were present on the day of inspection and any general recommendations due to potential issues, such as here, we have a range that didn't have an anti-tip bracket installed on it. So this is another example of a safety feature that's probably not a big deal to most people, but it could be a concern, especially for small children who may be climbing up on that open range or oven door, and the unit doesn't have an anti-tip bracket and it tips over on them. Nobody wants that to happen, so this is a potential safety issue that should be repaired. Then we come to our laundry room or laundry area, wherever that might be located. And here we just have another example for you of a potential safety concern. Uncovered receptacle. Again, it's found in almost every home. It's not a huge deal. Can a kid reach his finger into that uncovered receptacle and get a shock? Yes. So again, state of Ohio law says if you see any of these types of defects, you need to point them out. Then we move to our below grade areas of the home. Usually, in most cases, that's a basement or a crawl space in Southern Ohio, Southern and Central Ohio, where I operate. So everything that's, as far as all the components of the home located in these spaces, will be included in this section. And here's that summary item we had up front, which you can tell by the red font. It's a repair item. It's an example of termite damage that was found under the home in the crawl space on, in this case, multiple floor joists. But let's say I find termite damage on 10 separate floor joists in the crawl space. I'm not going to include a photo of every single one because there's only so much space in the report. But I might give you an example of an item that has, in this instance, multiple incidences related to whatever it is, in this case, termite activity or damage. Then we have the foundation of the home. You'll see general information here, just on the visibility and accessibility. There's almost always going to be accessibility issues related to the foundation of the home, such as on the exterior, siding and soil limitations on the interior. If it's a finished basement, for instance, a lot of the foundation may not be visible, but we look for other signs, indications of potential problems throughout the home as well. Such as cracking at the corners of doors and windows, door frames that are out of square, any other signs of settlement and or movement in the home itself, even if the foundation is not fully visible. But any of those visibility issues or limitations will be described here, along with the material that the visible parts of the foundation were composed of, and then observations about the findings. Then we come to our major systems, operating systems of the home, beginning with the heating and cooling. That's our HVAC system, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. I have just an example here of another limitation, but also of how we use the report just to identify for you certain important components of the home that you may need to get to, such as in this case, the gas supply shutoff valve on a gas-fired furnace. Usually it's found near the air handler itself. But just in case you're not familiar with where to locate that or what it might look like, here's just a quick little picture pointing it out to you. Hey, this is how you shut off gas to the unit if you need to. And also a general limitation here. General standards of practice for home inspectors in the state of Ohio do not require us to operate shutoff valves. And usually it's a good idea not to. And I usually don't unless I'm given permission to do so or asked to do so by the homeowner and or listing agent. Because sometimes the shutoff valve hasn't been used in a long time and it can break with first use. And so this is an example of how I'm not going to assume that liability unless somebody asks me to. There's a specific need that I should, and I'm granted that permission to do so. So I might say in this case, the valve appeared to be in serviceable condition. There was no evidence of any kind of gas leaking, but just so you know, I don't test them during the inspection due to potential liability issues. I encourage you to test that yourself once you take possession of the home, or whatever it might be. Next up is our plumbing. A few things here. Another example of a link to an article to learn more. In this case, the water heater is operating fine. I try to include some basic information about the units as they are available. such as this unit was approximately 5 years old at the time of inspection, based on information provided by the manufacturer. We're not guessing here. And, just compare that to the average life expectancy of the home of the most water heaters, 10 to 12 years. So you kind of have an idea of how old your unit is in comparison to how long it might last. And that's just an average expectancy. It's not to be taken as gospel. Some units have issues far sooner. Some units last far longer. You might get lucky. And a lot of it comes down to your maintenance as a homeowner. So again, here, read this article if you'd like to learn more about how you can maintain your water heater and get the most out of its livelihood. And then some general information here about plumbing in the home. So for instance, location of the main water entry and shutoff valve, if it's apparent, that will be described here. Typically, I'll have a photo of that too, if it was accessible, showing you exactly where the main water shutoff valve is, or what appeared to be the main water shutoff valve, because shutoff valves, again, are not often operated during the general inspection. And then just other observations. In this case, we found some galvanized steel plumbing, which is typical in some older homes and is not always a problem, but can be. There can be some safety concerns and some functional concerns related to galvanized steel piping, water flow issues, and other things. So there's a general recommendation here to repair, because I'm going to recommend that you upgrade to a more sustainable material, such as copper or plastic. It's entirely up to you whether you do that, though. Again, it's what you decide to do with the information in the report is entirely up to you. But if you'd like to learn even more about why I'm recommending this, even though there were, for instance, no signs of active leaking and perhaps no water flow issues on the day of, why am I recommending that you do something about it? Well, here's how you can find out why. And then we have our electrical section. So this will relate to findings of the electrical system on the exterior of the home, but coming inside, we'll look at the main service panel, any distribution or sub-panels that are found, condition of any visible wiring, circuit breakers, shutoffs, etc. will all be found here. Location of the main panel and any other panels that exist on the property will be described for you. In this case, we've got no issues. Some general comments about the panel itself, how it was inspected, and what was found. And then, as I mentioned at the very end of the report, you'll find a glossary. The only item included in this sample was, of course, the GFCI. So if we went back to that section where the GFCI was described, if we hovered over that, it would give us this definition that we find here at the glossary in the end. All right. So this was just a brief how to read your home inspection report. I hope this gives you kind of a better idea of understanding how to understand what it is you're looking at. But as always, please, I encourage you, you are more than welcome to follow up with me post-report. If you have any questions, if anything you see in the report is unclear, if you're unsure about how concerned you should be about a certain item, I'm happy to talk to you about that and walk you through anything that you need, because educating and empowering our customers is what we're about here at Ohio River Valley Home Inspections. Your peace of mind ultimately is our business. So I hope this helps, and have a great day.